Let me turn to another Republican, but one who is against the president's decision of pulling out of the accord. Christine Todd Whitman was the EPA chief under Bush 43, and of course, a former governor of New Jersey. Governor Whitman, good to see you.
Good to see you, Chuck, always.
So let me start with the president's decision that included a caveat. Do you, the but in there, that he's at least open to coming in under different terms. Do you take him at his word on that? Is there new terms that are worth negotiating? Is that a feasible caveat?
I don't think so, not at all. I mean, you have almost 200 nations that have signed on to this. This has been a process that's been ongoing for years. You've seen major commitments made by countries all around the world. We join a very exclusive group. I mean, when you consider Nicaragua and Syria or North Korea, along now with the United States, the only ones who didn't sign, won't sign, that's a very exclusive group. I'm not sure it's one with which we want to be associated, but that's where we are now. So I don't think there's going to be much appetite, and certainly we've already seen a doubling down by the Chinese reaching out to the European Union saying we're not going to negotiate even more, that they'd like to see more, and making their commitment very real.
Let's look, the president framed his decision under the jobs argument, and this is not the first time that the issue of jobs is pitted against environmental concerns. And you and I have both been around long enough to know that when given the choice, the voter is usually going to side with the jobs argument over the environmental argument. I guess let me ask you this. What's your advice to climate change advocates who believe there is no sense of urgency on the right on this issue, period? How do you develop that sense of urgency?
Well, there are a couple of things here. First of all, that's just the wrong argument. We have proven over time, from 1990 to 2008, we were able to see our population grow 20%, our electricity demands grow by 35%. We more than doubled our GDP, and at the same time reduced the 6 criteria pollutants by over 67%. So this idea that you can't have a healthy, thriving economy with a clean and green environment is just wrong. I mean, that's one of the few things I agreed with what was said today. Scott Pruitt said that we have been doing a wonderful job, actually, of reducing our greenhouse gas emissions voluntarily. We have, but there are a whole lot of players in the field who are not complying with that. And, you know, I'd also go for me, there are jobs. There are jobs to be made in the green sector. And take one of them, for instance, if you talk about energy and you want to reduce pollution, nuclear. Nuclear energy calls on the average nuclear reactor full-time employment of some 3,000 to 5,000 people at jobs that pay 30% more than the average. Are you
going to take us down the NIMBY, though, rabbit hole, not in my backyard? I mean, you know, the nuclear debate opens up a whole other can of worms. Well, but I take your point.
Yeah, no, I agree. There are challenges there, but right now it's because of the low cost of natural gas, which gets back to one of the things Trump harped on today, which was the coal miners. Coal is not being phased out because of environmental regulations. It's because of the low cost of natural gas and economic decisions made by the utilities, and Trump is all for expanding natural gas exploration and extraction. That's not going to help coal.
Given the number of states, including our country's largest state, California, who plans to want to enact policies as best they can that abides by the accord, and given so many multinational companies that are headquartered in this country, but essentially realize that, hey, they got to do business around the world, so they're going to abide by sort of a global set of rules, is it possible that while the United States government is not signing on to it, there are enough entities in the United States that we hit some of the goals, or we make progress simultaneously with the Paris Accord? Or does our lack of presence in it give carte blanche to other countries to bail?
Well, those, I think, are two questions. One, yes, we will continue to make progress. And the president was right when he said that we have done more than many. We have in reducing our greenhouse gas emissions. We could do more. It would be better if it were something that the entire country was committed to. But right now, the private sector, states and localities, municipalities have made commitments because they understand this problem is real, and there are things we can do about it that don't hurt their economy. So that part is kind of off the table. Will other countries bail? There's a possibility, but I don't think so. I know there's some who think, yes, India, for instance, might bail on this. I don't think so. I really think there's enough pressure. There's been enough blood put into this to getting to this stage that it would be very difficult for them to bail. And the things like the Green Fund that the president cited, we're not required to spend billions or put billions in. There is no actual requirement for a specific amount of money. It just calls for the developed countries to put more in, and that's actually to enable us to provide money so that the developing countries can get new technologies, which we could export if we were at the forefront of developing them. But we seem to be cutting back on that. And I've said it before, but trade wars work both ways. And I think they're going, even though our companies may be setting their own goals that are very aggressive, I think you're going to see some nations say, hey, we're going to put some tariffs on things that come from the United States because you're not part of this agreement.
Well, that would be an interesting game changer there and something to watch for. All right, Governor Christie Whitman, an interesting way to end. Thanks for coming on and sharing your views. I appreciate it.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.